But the former executive director for the Arizona Republican Party, Nathan Sproul, is here. And Nathan, as you've been taking in all these events from Phoenix now to Washington, what goes through your mind?
You know, I think it's just a chance for Arizona to grieve and for the nation to grieve. And I think the way that the McCain family did it this week was really perfect in the way that they demonstrated the top priority to Senator McCain always was Arizona and his constituents here. And so they gave Arizona that moment, and then they gave the nation that moment. And truly, we may not see somebody like him for a very long time, someone who is able to represent his local state, but also be an ambassador for the United States around the world. And for that, the Republican policies of strength through peace, or peace through strength, excuse me, he demonstrated that and he lived that, and that's why I think we see so many dignitaries and officials from around the country and around the world grieving along with the state of Arizona.
Nathan, when you say that we won't see someone like him for quite some time, I mean, a lot of people echo that sentiment. Why is that? What made the senator special?
You know, one of the things that I think is interesting that I ran across this week just preparing for some other things was I watched the eulogy that Senator McCain gave to Senator Goldwater back in, I think it was 1998. And if you've not watched the 7 minutes of Senator McCain eulogizing Senator Goldwater, it's well worth your time. And what McCain said about Goldwater, in essence, I think was what we are all saying about him, is that he was a giant of a man. And I paraphrased toward the end of that eulogy, and Senator McCain said, when the history of Arizona is written, Barry Goldwater will have a chapter, and all of us will just merely be footnotes. Well, I think what we've seen this week is the coming to fruition of the fact that John McCain didn't get that part quite right. He clearly is a chapter in the history of Arizona, and arguably a chapter in the history of America and the world for the last 50 years.
Nathan, I'm an Arizona girl myself. I know Governor Ducey, when he eulogized Senator McCain, said imagining Arizona without Senator McCain is like imagining Arizona without the Grand Canyon. I was a young Republican in college who actually campaigned on behalf of John McCain, and it is really hard to imagine Arizona without John McCain. Isn't that true?
Oh, it's so true. In 1982, when he was first elected to the United States House, that was my home district where I lived as a boy of 9 or 10 years old. And I remember listening to my parents explain to us why they chose to vote for then Congressman McCain, obviously now Senator McCain. And it was about his life story, his life of history. It wasn't just the fact that he was a POW, although clearly that heroic service was a part of it. But he had already back then in 1982 demonstrated a life of service. And I think one of the things that people miss is that he only won that first election by less than 3,000 votes. Think how different American history and world history for the last 50 years would have been different.
Indeed.
Yep.